So this week for small groups, we're actually starting a whole new series, and it's called Family Matters. And I started Wednesday night by showing one of my favorite clips from The Office called Identity Theft. And it's really simple. Jim walks into the room, but he's dressed up like Dwight, and he starts pretending that he's Dwight. And it makes Dwight in the show The Office so angry. And what I was talking to the students about is there's something about our identity that just feels more personal, that feels more offensive when somebody makes fun of us. I mean, have you ever been mocked? Have you ever had someone, and not like in a funny way, like they're your friend, but someone start mimicking you and talking like you do, or repeating back everything that you say as if it were funny? Isn't it strange how angry that can make us so quickly? And it's because our identity is really important to us. We are constantly in process of developing our identity, of asking, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? What is my value? And so because everybody goes through that process and asks those questions, we're gonna spend a couple weeks talking about ways that we develop our own identity. And so we're gonna follow a certain story in the Bible. And you might have heard of it. It's called the Prodigal Son, the Lost Son, and it comes out of a book of the Bible called Luke, which is one of the Gospels. It just means it's one of the stories in the Bible that tells us about Jesus and tells us about Jesus' ministry. So in Luke 15, we encounter this family. There are two sons and a dad that we know about who are mentioned in this story. And the story starts out with the younger son going to his dad, and he says, "Dad, I'm not gonna wait until you die. I want my share of my inheritance right now." Which to us just kind of sounds like him saying like, "Dad, I want a new pair of shoes," and throwing a tantrum until he can get it. But it's not. It is the equivalent of this younger son looking his dad in the eye and saying, "Dad, I wish you were dead." Or you might as well be dead. "I don't care about you. I just want your stuff." And that's heartbreaking. And the dad has every right to punish him, cut him out of the family, anything. And instead the dad chooses to give him the inheritance. So we're told the younger son takes that wealth and goes and he blows it on like parties. You imagine like food and cars and going to Vegas and seeing the shows. And I'm sure he has like this entourage of people who just want to be around him. But then, as you can imagine, the story is going to take a turn because a famine comes into the land. He loses all of the money that he had, and we find him starving. And if he's starving, you can imagine he is alone. That entourage of people who were around him and cared so much about him and had so much fun with him, they're gone. They're not buying him dinner. They don't care about him. And I just wonder, as a high school student, have you ever had that experience? You thought you had friends, you thought you had people who had your back, right up until being your friend became inconvenient, became difficult, right up until you actually needed those people, those friends. And that's what the younger son is like. So in order to survive, he gets this job where he's feeding pigs out in the field. And he has this moment where he realizes even the pig slop looks delicious and he can't even get that. Like his status has fallen below a guy who can get to pig slop. That's low. So he says, back home, even my dad's servants are well fed and taken care of. I'm gonna go back to my dad. I'm gonna apologize and I will tell him, I am not worthy to be your son, but will you take me on as a servant? And when you read this younger son's story, you realize what he's encountering is a crisis of identity. He doesn't know who he is anymore. He says, I'm not worthy to be your son. The very identity I was born with, I'm not even worthy to carry that anymore. This younger son went on a path of self-discovery. He's like, I'm gonna figure it out on my own. I'm gonna figure out who I am, what my value is, what my purpose is, all on my own. I'm gonna give in to every moment, give in to every temptation, live however I want to, regardless of any consequence. And I'm gonna let the people around me tell me my value, tell me who I am, help me with my identity. And where does he end up? Alone, abandoned, feeling worthless, feeling ignored, starving, beaten and broken, saying, I am more confused now than when I started. I don't know who I am. I don't have an identity. I will go back and I'll beg my dad. So when he goes back and he begs his dad, I wanted to read what happens. So this is in Luke 15, and this is what the verse says. He returned home to his father. While he is still a long way off, his father sees him coming. He is filled with love and compassion. He runs to his son, he embraces him and he kisses him. And his son says to him, "Father, I've sinned against heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son." But his father cuts him off and says, "Quick, bring the finest robe in the house, put it on him, get a ring for his finger, sandals for his feet, kill the fattened calf. We have to celebrate with a feast. For this son of mine was dead and has now returned to life. He was lost and he is found." And so the party began. This is a crazy moment because we're seeing these identities come into conflict. The son is saying, "I am not worthy. I'm broken and I'm lost and I don't know who I am." And the father says, "I will run to you. That's who you are. You are my son. You are loved. I have compassion for you. I have forgiveness for you. You were lost and you're found. You were dead. You're alive. You are my kid." The father knows what the son's identity is. He knows, "You're mine. And I love you, and you're valuable, and you're worthy." The father knew the identity of the son. He knew who he was. And sometimes we struggle with who we are. And some of us have decided, "I'm going to go do whatever I want. I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to give in to every indulgence. I'm going to let the people around me label me." And when it gets real quiet and it gets real still, we realize we still don't know who we are. We've changed who we are depending on what group we might be around. But we don't even know how to describe ourselves in 5 words. But we have a father, we have a God who says, "I know exactly who you are. I know what your identity is. You're mine. You are loved, you're special, you're seen, you're welcome, you're worthy." And so we're gonna talk the next couple weeks about what does it mean to let the Father help us with our identity.